I want to talk a little bit about the design process. I want to do a little bit of a live design session so people can get inside the mind of a master designer like yourself. Sam Altman recently said he's working on a LinkedIn at OpenAI. So can you break down LinkedIn for us and help live design what a LinkedIn for AI would look like?
Sure. The first that I'd actually sort of heard about this really was through your comment about kind of Sam Altman saying they were designing LinkedIn for AI. And then I went and looked up a little bit about it. Actually know Fiji quite well from having worked with her at Meta. And I think I would say like my top level thinking was, okay, is this actually more I don't want to say like a marketing piece. So I think this could go a couple different ways, right? But one, I think, is it like, what's actually the real objective of this? Is it to make it less scary that AI is, eating and has the ability to eat a whole kind of class of different jobs across many different sectors? Or is it really about the AI kind of education and certification and things like that? Or is it more like some of the dating apps that are really kind of trying to look deeper than like sort of bits and pieces of people's character or attributes and matching them? So is it trying to use like more sophisticated sort of matching technology? And so I think one, there are some questions, right, about kind of what really is the objective of doing this kind of LinkedIn for AI app. Then I also think about, okay, so there's LinkedIn, and what are people actually really using LinkedIn for? So I've never actually personally used LinkedIn to look for a job myself. I have used it for helping try to either find people that I'm looking to hire or helping other people try to hire for different jobs. But like, there is an entire set of LinkedIn that I have never used, really not interacted with at all, which is the job hunting and job seeking kind of chunk of things. It is sort of equivalent to sort of the dating piece that I mentioned earlier, sort of matchmaking piece. I think there is a whole nother piece of LinkedIn, and this would be very biased by my own usage of LinkedIn versus like how LinkedIn is actually used. So I will caveat that as a bias, but I think I am seeing and have been seeing LinkedIn be used more and more as just kind of another sort of social feed in many ways, where it is about sharing content, it's about interacting with content, it's about kind of connecting with people and sort of building out this kind of network that is very different to me than just the job searching, right? That feels more equivalent to a Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or whatever, but kind of around the context of work. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Tracking.
So I think like where we really sit with this is at kind of product positioning. So I will also say like, I didn't even like open LinkedIn for a very long time until I was at some kind of happy hour that we were hosting in the city, I don't know, a year and a half ago. And somebody was like, oh, we should connect on LinkedIn. And I was like, is this person trolling me? Like, I don't, because I like look old and I don't belong here. Like, what is going on? But okay, sure, we can connect on LinkedIn. And then somebody else said it too. And I was like, man, either everybody here really jerks or like maybe LinkedIn is starting to like grow again. And then like it kind of felt like this wave, maybe my time frame is off here a bit, but and there was this wave of like another colleague being like, oh yeah, no, my kids who are graduating high school and in college, like are totally using LinkedIn, and they have like their kind of like resumes all set up, and they're trying to connect and network through LinkedIn. I was like, oh, this is fascinating that it really does feel like LinkedIn is like beginning to make a comeback. So I think all of this leaves us at like, obviously I am not moving pixels around as we're talking, but I think this is where I had said earlier, as far as like, the first thing is really defining the product, like, who is this for and what are the tasks or kind of use cases that it supports? So I think the first thing I would ask would be, okay, we've got we've got this idea, like which direction do we want to take it? And I think there's some guesswork here because obviously I don't know what Sam and Fiji and everybody is actually thinking about kind of behind this. So I think what I would do, and I don't know, I'm like, I can pull out pen and paper if we want. Do you want to do that? You're not? I don't know how to make it.
I would love to understand
Okay.
how you break down a hazy
Yeah.
problem like this.
Okay.
Because that's the type of problem people are given. Create LinkedIn, open AI, and you're like, okay, well, this is how an expert will break it down.
Yeah. Okay, but I think I would just start with, all right, so we've got this idea. Can you see this or no?
Yep.
Okay, we've got this idea of like LinkedIn for AI. So we've got a couple options, right? One is about like matchmaking. Sorry, I do this in chicken scratch, but one is kind of about matchmaking. One sort of direction is really about like certification and training. And a third would be sort of more about, well, I guess we could say like networking, and another would be more about like content
Yeah. So many
sharing
different
and
ones.
distribution.
So let's say we just were inside the mind of Fiji and Sam, and they said,
Yeah.
all we really care about is matchmaking, because a lot of people are going to ChatGPT and they're looking for jobs and they're trying to apply for jobs via ChatGPT. And so we really want to break that part of it and disrupt LinkedIn there.
Yep. So we'll double down on matchmaking. And I actually feel like this could be quite a smart direction. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that for now. Okay, so let's say we're going to go into matchmaking. I think first I would start with the question of like, what makes a good match, right? So you have obviously, I'll just put like job seekers, and then you have, we could put employers. And then I think what you're sort of looking for here is the magic that is between those. To get to there, you need a set of attributes across each to kind of understand like what matches well with the other. Just thinking about sort of UI here as well that you'd mentioned, there's obviously going to need to be some sort of like onboarding or kind of input flow for these pieces. But then I think, this feels still pretty unsophisticated, right? So I think the question is like, what would be the things that the patterns and things that AI could see that humans, or just like a very rudimentary like match A with A kind of means, like what goes beyond that, like what additional class of things could we begin to capture and input, right? Is it like, I don't know, like just thinking, I had a conversation with someone a couple weeks ago whose job is actually administering personality tests to potential CEOs for hire, so that they can actually, the company has a much better sense of kind of how they'll fit into the organization. I'm like, well, that's actually pretty interesting. Like, I'm sure there are ways you could sort of automate that and make it much more accessible beyond it being right now prohibitively expensive and just doing it for CEOs. You could do that for anybody and everybody, right? Like, and through a series of questions like, I don't even think of like, how do you start your morning, right? Is it more social and talking to your colleagues, or is it like you like to get in and just kind of start doing your work right away? Obviously aspects of like introversion, extroversion. Do you get more energy being in the office with people, or you kind of prefer to be at home? I think there's a whole set of kind of skills and potential that could begin to be identified as well, and maybe even sort of predicting potential and fit within a certain group, even within a company. And so I think what's interesting when I think about the UI for this is that, you have kind of two separate UIs. You have, you have sort of, it's a marketplace, right? But you have UIs for job seekers and you have UIs for employers. And then all the sort of magic and the AI is kind of happening in the middle.
Yeah.
I think there are opportunities to look at, okay, where does AI fit potentially on either end of this? But I think I don't know. And then I'm like, there even could be like a Tinder swipe or something along those lines of like, yes fit, no fit. But I would also sort of look at other kind of matchmaking apps. Like I think the only parallels with LinkedIn really would be that LinkedIn is about jobs and work, and that you can post and look for jobs through LinkedIn, right? But I would then diversify and look a lot further beyond kind of LinkedIn, to kind of look more at dating apps and all sorts of, I don't know, even think about like college admissions, right? Like all of these things of kind of where are you really trying to sort of find good fit. So I don't know. Those are my 2 cents.
So what I took away from this is you're not just going to dive into pixels and Figma when you're solving a hairy design problem. The very first thing is actually create alignment on, well, what is the business goal here? Then it sounded like you were going very deep on, well, what is the new technical innovation that we are bringing to market? Then you go deep on, okay, well, what are the different user groups that we need to design user interfaces for? And that's where we kind of ended here, right? And so there's this stepwise process in design. This is a classic design problem that somebody probably created 60, 70 years ago that still applies for AI features. And you can't just all of a sudden, I think what people want to do instead is they just want to go into Lovable and say, design me LinkedIn for AI. And they would have expected us to just open up Figma and then go iterate on that design. But there's this actual classic design process is super, super important first. I hope you enjoyed that short clip. You can check out the full episode here.